Hello, everybody, and this is another podcast with Water with, obviously, Martin Riese, your personal water sommelier, and Michael Mascha, my co-host, are here as well. And today we have Ashley with us, a very interesting girl, lady, and person who surprised us with an incredible assortment of amazing spring waters. I have to say I'm in a good mood because it is right now, and we're taping pretty early in the morning. It's 10 after 9 a.m. I'm here in beautiful Petit Hermitage Hotel in West Hollywood. You see, the weather is not really the best one today. It's even sprinkling a little bit, but I'm here already at 7 a.m. in the morning because I already had a vodka tasting as a water sommelier. Think about this. I have a very interesting vodka company who infuses some very cool things to the vodka. Now you will see this next year, and I cannot talk really about it, but I had a very interesting work session with them today, and it's fascinating for me to taste different vodkas at 7 a.m. in the morning. So anyhow, I'm in a great mood right now. But hey, Michael, how are you in Texas? How's the weather over there?
Well, hello. The weather is nice and warm, and I'm also in a good mood. I didn't have any vodka this morning, but we had just recently, we're taping this on a Thursday here, we just recently had two very good Supreme Court decisions, unexpected. And I think I'm also in a really good mood because, I think at least some things looks like it's moving in the right direction.
I totally agree with you, Michael. I saw this in the news channels popping up today in the morning, and I was very pleased. And in Germany, they're all over the news already what's happening. But anyhow, we have a special guest. We have Ashley with us. Ashley, hello. Welcome to the podcast Water With.
Hi, I'm Ashley with Salacious Drinks. I'm actually in DC. Our weather is kind of iffy also right now, kind of cloudy. It might rain, but it's still pretty outside.
So you're in the middle of everything in DC, obviously. So how is DC? How is the feeling and the vibe in DC? I actually lived in DC in 2001. No, I'm lying. 2000. I'm so sorry. I'm lying. I was in DC for 3 months in Washington, D.C., worked there at the, back in the days, MCI Center. I think it's now Verizon Center. And I operated a restaurant at the Nick and Seth Steakhouse. That's not even existing there anymore. But I used to work in DC, and I actually had a great time in DC. So tell me a little bit about DC and why you're living. Are you a nature in DC? Are you coming from DC, or why you're there in DC?
Yeah, so when we actually started the company, I'm from Georgia, born and raised. Well, not born, but I grew up there my whole life. And we started reaching out to the embassies. And I was like, don't you want water from your home country? And a lot of them were like, yes, we love this idea. And my partner was like, okay, let's move up there. So it was just a whim. We just packed everything up and we're like, okay, let's go to DC because it's such a hub. It's in between, you're 3 hours away from New York and everyone comes in through DC. So you get such this vibrant culture in itself. So it's always great. It's just a great place to be right now. You're just centered. And you asked about the vibe. It's really just, it's so interesting of a vibe because these people are like, they want change, and you're to be the epicenter of it. You get to see the pros, the cons, all of it, and just how people really work together and come together just to make that happen. And that's what I love about it.
It's fascinating. Ashley and I, we have a little bit of a way back. We met a couple of times already, and we have been on the phone for a long time. And Martin, that we always have deep respect for people that start a bottled water brand. And I think they're very brave. I think those people are on the forefront, and it's a very, very difficult to start a water brand. But I think there's another group of people that is even more braver than starting a water brand. And this is people that try to distribute water in a portfolio, and exclusively water. So not having, sodas, soft drinks, and water, but just having water. And when I spoke first with Ashley and know about her background, that she is in the distribution business, the first thing I noticed, she's always smiling and she's laughing on the phone. And I'm thinking, business must be really good, because every other person in the water business, distribution business I talk to, they're not smiling. So Ashley is one of the very few people that's constantly smiling and is in a very, very tough business in a portfolio distribution. Can you tell us a little bit about your portfolio and your intention with your portfolio in Washington and beyond?
Of course. Okay, so for what we did, like when we first started out, it was so funny. Like we were contacting any kind of water company and we were like, hey, we've got this crazy idea. We want a water store, but we want to do, it's like, it's just water. There's going to be nothing else. We want to start. So we started out just contacting everyone. They're like, I don't get it. I don't understand what you want to do. Some just straight ignored you. And then we're like, fine, we're just going to work harder. And we started, got a few brands at first. Salvardi was actually one of our very first brands. We were like, hey, we've got this idea. And he was like, oh, I love it. I'm on board. Let's work together. Let's get this thing going. And we were like, okay. Then you just started reaching out and people, you start building your online presence and people are like, okay, I get it. And I'm like, yes. And it's so funny when people come, they're like, it's just water. And I'm like, it's just water. And then we started doing our research and we were like, okay, well, we don't just want water. What kind of water do we want? Like we used to go and travel different states and realize, oh, we don't have this here. We don't have that there. And then we started thinking, we could do water from around the world. There are so many different options. So we're like, okay, we narrowed it down to that. And then we started doing more research and like we bought Michael Masha's book and we read the book from, cover to cover and we were like, let's do natural waters. That's even better because there's so much knowledge out there and you don't understand it and you don't even get like, oh, why do you take vitamin C's and vitamin D's and all these things when you could find it magnesiums in your water? And we're like, that's a brilliant idea. So we're like, okay, then we'll go to naturally sourced waters. So we have spring, we have sparkling, you have your stills, and the artesians, and it's just right now it's just so fun. And I think that's why I'm always smiling because it's like even with the worst of like anything could happen, you lose pallets, things break and shipping, but you've got something that you just love doing, so can't go wrong.
I agree with you. First of all, I think as a water distributor, and obviously Michael and myself are water sommeliers, we are very hydrated. So we are very hydrated people. And I think that's already like in our mood that we are just like we have a different pace already on us because we're drinking so much water. And I love that you just said, oh, it's just water. And my claim is always water. It's not just water. So I just was really laughing when you're saying like, yeah, but it's just water. And I get it. There's so many people still on this planet who are thinking, oh, really? What are you selling? Water? Okay, with flavors or what kind of water is it? No, water. And they think, but it's just water. And I think that is the interesting concept that you can surprise people by telling them suddenly a story and telling them, listen, so what are you drinking in a regular base? Yeah, I'm drinking brand A, B, and C. And then you can tell them, oh, do you know that's actually nothing else than filtered DC tap water? And they're like, what? And then, you can actually have the same with a Brita filter at home. You don't need to buy a plastic bottle from this company who's like maybe you're spending maybe $2 or $3 per bottle. There's a totally different aspect to bottled water, and that what you just said comes from Mother Nature. So spring water, iceberg water, glacier water, artesian water. These are the waters I'm getting extremely excited. You definitely as well, because you're smiling already at me. And Michael, I know, is very hydrated too in Texas. So I think these are the waters we want to talk about. So let me ask you this. In the beginning, when you started that company, did you had already like the portfolio in place where you think like, okay, these are the waters I really want to have? Did you have purified water too? Do you still have purified water in your portfolio, or did you drop them? Or so how did you came by to your portfolio, and what makes you the decision to choose the brands you have right now currently in your portfolio?
Perfect question, Mark. So what we do is now we just have natural source waters. We started out with purified. We started out with everything. We went to a distributor and we were like, hey, we want to buy, because we want to open a water store. We're like, it's 2016. We're going to throw it up online though. I was like, the whole idea is eventually we'll get to a brick and mortar. I think it'd be really great to have one, just a space for water companies and water enthusiasts to come and enjoy. I was like, but right now we can do this online. Like everything ships, like Amazon's huge, let's be honest. So like at first they were like, okay, we've got like 8 waters in our thing. And we're like, okay, we're going to order all of them. And then we just started reaching out to companies. And like I said, a lot of companies were just like, no, it. And then, like I said, as we started doing the research, it was like, okay, let's narrow it down. Let's make sure that these are the brands that, and like you said, it's a story, because when you're presenting anything to anybody, what's going to matter is the story behind it and how you tell it. How animated are you of a person? Is it going to grab someone's attention? And those water brands that are natural sources have those stories. Like already, a purified, like you said, DC tap water goes so hard. It's crazy. It's just like everywhere. Water is life, DC tap. And I'm like, but it's terrible. What are you people doing? So it's like, okay, fine. We'll go just as hard. So we started doing tastings, and we were like, this is fun. This is great, because I love it. People walk up, it's just water. I'm like, okay, hold that thought till the end after the taste. And then they're like, oh my gosh, there really is a difference. I'm like, all right, my job is done. Like, so now we do have a more refined portfolio of natural. We do have some, we have one brand that's a coconut water, which I just love. It's a sparkling coconut water. It's super fun. And we have one flavored brand that's flavored that uses a natural source. So as long as they're natural, we're like, hey, we're on board. Let's give it a try.
So I think companies like Salacious Drink and Ashley, they really provide a solution to a problem that I had for a long time. And I think Martin had the same problem. Is we go in there, we talk about water. Maybe we bring 10 waters with us. We give people a water tasting. Exactly like Ashley said, we change their world. And at the end of the tasting, they say, great, where can I get the water? And I had to tell them, I'm sorry, it's very hard to get. You'll probably never get it again. And that's it. And it was really, really frustrating for all of us, because we got people into, it's almost like we give them a drug, right? And they say, okay, I'm hooked, I want more. And we have to tell them, no, sorry, you cannot get it. So I think what we should do, and why we really should support, and they're all small companies, this is not a multinational company. Those are small startup companies with a lot of passion. And I think we really, really need to support those companies, because this is what gets you as a consumer into a portfolio of water in your area. So again, from our point of view, thank you again for doing this. And I'm happy you're having so much fun with it.
Definitely. Yes, I love that. And that's the whole idea. Like, first time meeting you, it was like, yes, like I understand. I want to help grow just your passion for what you already have. It's like, whatever I can do to help. And that's the main thing. Like when Waters, we go to them and I'm just like, we're here to help. Like whatever y'all need, like we can do it. Like we want to be able to do it. And that's the fun part. Like even connecting with all the distributors around the world, they're like, yes, like we've talked to so many different people, because they're like, we're doing the same thing. And I'm like, perfect. And we should all be collaborating together. I was like, if we're going to actually build an industry, because that's what we're doing. Like it's such a huge market, and the name brands that run it, like why? Like we should be able to topple it. So I'm excited for it.
So Michael, I didn't know that we are drug dealers. It's like I'm almost shocked now, huh? It's like I always thought like I'm bringing something healthy to the American people and wanted to elevate their habits of getting hydrated, because we all know 95% on this planet actually are still dehydrated all the time. You need to drink water all the time. But it's interesting that you said this, Michael, because yes, you're not the first one who tells me that I'm kind of like a drug dealer. Because I had several guests hooking up pretty much from purified to spring water. And I see this on my social media channels all the time, that people are saying, God, Martin, thank you so much. Since I met you, or since I'm like drinking now spring water, I realized that I'm feeling completely different. That they're like enhanced now with all the different flavors, and clearly with the mineral compositions. What purified waters clearly lacking, because purified waters are nothing else. Again, for people who maybe don't know, purified water is nothing else than highly processed municipal source water. So that means they're taking their water wherever it is, in the factory, they're taking that water from municipal sources, they're filtering everything out, so they're getting rid of all healthy minerals, then they're backing up some very small amount of minerals, like very, very small amounts, and then they're selling it for a high price. Then they're saying, obviously, and then they're creating these crazy claims about it's alkaline, it's great pH water, then they're saying, oh my God, we're adding electrolytes. And everybody goes nuts. Like, oh yeah, they're adding electrolytes. This is the best thing you can do because they're adding electrolytes. Yeah, electrolytes. The thing is, they don't tell you really how many electrolytes they're adding. And then it comes interesting. For example, LA tap water has 10 times more electrolytes than pretty much every leading purified water brand. By nature already. It's like crazy. So the whole idea of this whole, oh, I'm adding electrolytes and now I'm the healthy human being here is a little bit crazy and a little bit nonsense. You should drink, obviously, when you go into the grocery store, water from nature. So that means, again, artesian, spring, glacier. These are the waters you should look for. And when you see on the bottle purified water, this is actually nothing else than a highly processed beverage. I'm not even calling it anymore water. I'm not using the word water when I say purified. It's for me a highly processed beverage. Nothing else. So, Ashley, let me ask you this, because I know now you're hooked as well, and I see incredible, amazing spring waters right behind you. I see, for example, Aqua Carpatica. I know that water brand very, very well because I was in Europe for 2.5 years ago. They invited me, and I shoot a little commercial for them. Actually, 2 commercials. You can see them on their homepage, and when you Google Aqua Carpatica and my name, Martin Riese, these commercials are coming up. I feel very hydrated. Can you tell me a little story about Aqua Carpatica?
Oh man, okay. Aqua Carpatica is one of our biggest brands, honestly. And also just I love it for the simple fact, like it was actually the first naturally sparkling water that we tried. And I loved it because it was sodium free. So you get all these minerals, and that's one of my favorite things. I love a good high mineral water, just that heavy mouthfeel. I'm such a fan. And I was like, oh, this is so tasty. It's got such great bubbles. And just the story behind it, like, and then to be able to just work with them to see how they're growing, it's amazing. Like, we first met them at, I want to say it was the New York show that they did, and they had this massive booth, and they were in the center, and everybody was coming up, and we were like, okay, we've got to get this water. Like, there's just this huge craze for it, and it's doing so well. Like, restaurants love it, and its price point's amazing. So especially for us in DC, it's always a great one. We're like, look, you get a pair, so you don't have to have 2 different colored bottles or anything like that. It just looks prettier on a table. So it's just, and then the spring is so nice and light. It's just really great. It's hands down one of our best selling waters for sure.
So Ashley, I want to come back to something you said before, which was really interesting. It was, we're building an industry here, and I couldn't agree more. I think we're building an industry from different components, right? And I think how those components work together is very important. And if you look into the history, and I've been doing this for a while now, there was always a little bit of tension between the brands and the distributors. And in the past, I had the feeling that some of the brands think that they need to sell their water to the distributor. And I call it, throwing it over the fence. And as soon as they sold the container to the distributor, it became now the distributor's problem and not the brand's problem anymore. And this, created some tensions. And I think, all modern contemporary brands with a modern contemporary understanding hopefully know that they need to sell to the end consumer, and that the distributor is one of the elements in the chain that gets the water from their brand to the consumer. So I think the collaboration between the distributors and the brand is something that I'm really interested in, and I will do whatever it takes. And I just wanted to learn from you. Do you see it in a similar? What are your good examples and what are your bad examples?
Oh, definitely. Like, yeah, like I'm glad you picked up on that point. Like when we first started, everybody's like, yeah, where do I drop a pallet? And we're like, oh, no, honey. It's got to be a mutual beneficial relationship. If you just drop a pallet, like we've had so many waters now come to us, like we are just starting to actually implement what we send out to them. It's starting that fulfillment. So it's like we've had so many people come to us and they're like, oh, Amazon dropped us. Oh, Amazon doesn't want to do bottled waters anymore. How do we go? What's our next steps? And we were like, light bulb. Well, let us fix that problem then. We can be the fulfillment. We can be the Amazon. We can build this industry, like I said, if everyone works together. So it's like, as opposed to you just dropping you dropped your pallet, you made your sale. What's next? What other work are you doing? How do you connect? Like with us, Martin, for Michael Mash, what he did, it's like you're linking, okay, this bottle, this brand is sold on here. So you can link all your distributors so people are all connected. It's just that cohesive relationship that everyone's going to need. Like we have Salvardi and Lofoten, they're really close to each other. So they started talking, they're like, okay, how do we build their portfolios of those Norwegian, higher end waters, and then you can start sending like, hey, how do y'all work together, and then how do we work together, distributors, to help just build your story, build your brand, to make sure that it's going to work and go forward together. Because if we don't go forward, if we don't work together, you just fall apart. Like we've had so many brands that are like, well, okay, well, that sounds great, but we just want grocery stores. And it's like, well, if that's what you want, then this clearly isn't going to be you're not ready to build this industry with us. And by all means, we support it, go get those grocery stores. If you want to be that price point, I think that's fantastic, but we want to build an industry. So you've got to think bigger, and you can't just think, okay, I'm going to drop 20 pallets and be done. That's not a sale, because you don't have if they come back, if they don't come back, then you have nothing. So what have y'all seen on y'all's end? Like, how is it working? Are the brands more cohesive together?
You're absolutely right. And I love that you just said it. We are pretty much all in the same boat. And this is now pun intended, because a good boat needs water. And you're absolutely right. I saw a lot of water companies as well, just telling me like, so Martin, I love what you're doing. Can we work together? And then I'm looking at them. You think, so, okay, how can we build something together? And they're like, no, we just need you as a brand ambassador. You think, yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for. And then like, yeah, can you do exclusivity? He's saying, absolutely not, because I'm a water sommelier. I cannot just talk to one brand. I need to be a portfolio. That's the whole idea, that we have like different portfolios, different waters, and we can talk about this. And they're like, yeah, but when but we are brand A, why you have to talk about brand B, C, and D as well? He's saying, because they're all different. It's not just that your brand is the best. There is no best water on this planet. Like Mother Nature creates something very special, and all these incredible water brands have their own incredible story. Therefore, they're all for me equally on the same palette. And then I have to think, that's my job as a sommelier, to find the right pitch for each brand, where they fitting and where they might be not fitting. And that is, I think, the interesting part. So, quick question about you, because Salacious, where's the name coming from?
Lovely. Okay, so Salacious in itself means provocative, and the bottles are absolutely amazing. They're gorgeous. They're sexy. You want to bring that story forward anyways. Everybody's like, the past, like, oh yeah, here's my water. That's boring. The water's not boring. They put so much work in design and packaging alone. It needs to be shown. And then also, Salacia is a Roman water goddess, and I love mythology. So we're like, how do we incorporate everything in together? And partner's like, okay, Salacious Drinks, that's it. And I'm like, I love it. So it's been the name, and everybody loves the name. They're always like, ooh, it's so. I'm like, yeah, you need that feeling when you're talking about water, I think. Exactly. So that's our name.
I think I'm very happy you have picked up on that, because both of Martin and I, we really think that water also has a sensual, sometimes even erotic component to it. And very few people pick up on it, especially with the classic commodity brands. It's all about hydration. It's so much more, exactly as you described it just now, and even your expression in the face, it's so much more. It has that sensual component to it. And some of the bottles definitely have that. But I want to come back quickly to I strongly believe that, and Martin will second me on that within a second, is still and sparkling is not a choice anymore. Still and sparkling is boring, because you have one water and we all know where it's coming from. It's probably coming from San Pellegrino, and the other one will be Panna. And that's my choice of a water in a restaurant. So I'm spending $150 on the tasting menu. I don't drink wine. And this is my choice. The water I can get in the gas station across from the street. No, that's not a choice. And this is really meant for the restaurants people. You need to upgrade your water. And Martin can talk about this. He has done that, fabulously in Los Angeles with many different places. But still around the country, there are people that think they can get away by selling you a 99 cents water for $10 in the restaurant. And they would not buy from Ashley because Ashley water costs $1.05. So that's totally stupid. I would not eat in a restaurant where the chef and the food and beverage manager is not taking care of the water at the same level as they do with the food and the wine.
Definitely, Martin. I completely agree. Martin, what's your experience? How do we help each other in that aspect? I love what you're doing for the Patina. I loved your menu. We always look at it. I love the way it's designed. It's absolutely gorgeous. And we're like, so how is that going for you? Are you working with multiple now? Are you like, let me go to different hotels? And how are you with different chefs? How's that coming along for you?
First, Michael, you're absolutely right. And it's quite fascinating for me all the time, again, when I'm going to a restaurant and the water choice is, the server literally will ask me, okay, still or sparkling? And I'm asking, so which brand are you offering? And they're like, not even they know which brand they're serving. That is for me the most hilarious part. When most of the times when they don't even know, it's mostly then the Nestle products, what you just said, San Pellegrino and Acquapanna. I've been at Acquapanna actually on it's called the Tuscan Days. The interesting part about that trip was they never showed us the spring. So I was invited by Acquapanna, but I never saw any water. It was fascinating for me. I had the most incredible wines, the most incredible food. We had a great time, but we saw this spring house. They told us it's right there. You think, okay, so where's the water? Because that is pretty much what I'm looking for here on the Tuscan Days. And they're like, no. It's that's not really interesting. You say, yeah, it's interesting for me. There was not even on the Tuscan Days, not even one water tasting. Nothing. It was just about eating and drinking and getting drunk. But not even one talk about the quality of water and what the water can actually do to the cuisine of Italian and everything else. It was very strange. The same what I just saw again about Nestle. I don't know how Nestle comes through with this. They just sent another kind of a media alert, and we're working together with all this amazing sommeliers to enhance the flavor of waters, and we're tasting all the different waters. Not even one water sommelier is part of that. Not even one. There are over 200 water sommeliers around the world now these days, but Nestle decides somehow, and I don't know why, that they're having a tea master and wine sommeliers. But they're ignoring the fact completely that there are water sommeliers on this planet these days. I have no clue why. Maybe we should send them a memo, all water sommeliers together, maybe the Germans Academy, who for sure listens to this podcast as well. You guys are doing a great job in Germany. Maybe you should reach out to them as well and say, hey, listen, hello, there are water sommeliers these days on the planet. It's very strange for me that a big corporation like Nestle somehow didn't catch up to that. On the second part, what I wanted to talk to you, Ashley, yes, it's quite fascinating to create water menus. And my first water menu is now 15 years ago in Germany at the Hotel Palace in Berlin. That was my first water menu I created. A lot of people laughed about that fact back in the days. They said yeah, right, a water menu. Right, Martin. It was very successful in Germany. I received a lot of media attention on that as well. I started to get familiar with obviously the fine waters for Michael Mascher, the homepage. That really helped me. Then I started to connect with Michael because I wanted to move to Los Angeles in 2011. I needed some recommendation letters for my O1 visa, and Michael was one of the people who actually sent the recommendation letters. So I'm very thankful for Michael again that I'm actually now allowed to be here in this beautiful scenario of Petit Hermitage. Without Michael, it would not be that easy. So thanks again, Michael, for that. And then I started, obviously, the water sommelier idea and the water sommelier menus at Patina Restaurant Group. First at Race and Stark Bar, then at Patina Restaurant. Then we launched the water menu at Nick and Seth Steakhouse, at the Hollywood Bowl. We have a small water menu at Petit Hermitage right now, but we're going to build that up to a very interesting water menu as well. Mike already knows. It's going to be a very sensational, very erotic product as well. So it's going to be really, really fun. I don't want to say too much about it because that's going to be a big surprise for everybody. This is going to be the most craziest water menu ever created, I think, in my belief. But here in LA, a lot of people, when I started the water menu, said as well, only in LA there's a water sommelier. Only in LA there can be a water menu. And then I told them, like, yeah, by the way, I'm German. I did this already for 10 years ago in Germany. So it's not just only in LA. It's now in Washington, D.C. as well, obviously, what we see already. And Michael is in Texas. So the idea, the concept of a selection, giving people a selection of amazing waters in a restaurant is not brand new. And it's not really rocket science for me. And for me, it's mind-blowing because we're actually making good money on a water menu as well. And the people love, the consumer and the customer and the guests, what we have always in a hotel, we have guests, we don't have customers, we have guests, love the concept of the option and a variety. And the same in the restaurant business. That's the reason you not just have one vodka, you have 10. When you're going to a sports bar, you not just have one beer on tap. Imagine that everybody would go nuts when you go into a sports bar and the only beer they have on tap is Coors Light. They would say, like, are you nuts? So I want my options. And this will happen with water too. People more and more and more will understand that water has taste. We already, since 2 years now, outsold soda. So water is now the number one consumed beverage. And the next big thing, everybody always asks me this. So Martin, okay, so what is the next big thing in the water industry? The next big thing will be back to the nature. We saw this on beer production, artesian beer suddenly. We saw that in the grocery store, Whole Foods, Erewhon, all this like Sprouts, all this like grocery stores who suddenly supplied you with 100% natural occurring food, not highly processed food anymore. That is the new big trend in the food industry in general. And this will happen again with water because people will suddenly understand, wait a minute, you're selling me my tap water filtered in a plastic bottle? I'm not interested in that. I want real water, maybe perfectly obviously in a glass bottle, but maybe in a plastic bottle as well. But at least my water should come from Mother Nature. And that will be the next big thing. And the more we're talking about this, the more purified water companies will get scared. Trust me. And we saw it already. Mike and myself been kind of like mocked by a water company. They faked up a water sommelier in their marketing and said, this is crazy. You don't need a water sommelier because this is just fake. Just buy our purified water. As a water company, think about that. But we both, Mike and myself, pretty much said, we won. When they starting to make fun of it, then we know we're on something very, very special. And it's so cool because who followed me on Instagram just saw my last post with Larry David, the big famous comedian. He did a water tasting, and I was so proud of him because in his water tasting, he just tastes spring waters. He does not taste not even one purified water brand. And the funny story to this video is that video is like 2 or 3 years old. It's never been broadcasted. It was just been taped kind of like as a B-roll that they can utilize it maybe for promotion aspects or for their social media channels. Larry David was here for like a half year ago at Petit Hermitage. And I looked at him and I brought him 3 different waters and told him, I saw once a post where you're drinking this 3 different or like 5 different waters and you can actually blind recognizing these waters. And he looked at me like, no, you know, that was like Hollywood. So I can't. He's saying, no, you can. I told him, I have waters here and I will give it to you. And trust me, you will taste the difference. And he's like, no way. So I gave him 3 different brands and he was like, what the hell just happened? I thought it's just comedian, a gimmick, a fun thing. I don't even knew that there is a water sommelier. I don't even knew that water can be so different in taste. And he was blown away of the fact that this, what he showed as a fun little sequence, actually can be done. And he was blown away. And obviously it made my day. it was for me like Larry David, have him in a restaurant and do a water tasting with him was just the coolest thing ever. So how are people reacting to you, Ashley, when you're in DC and you're telling them like, hey, by the way, the thing what you're drinking right there maybe looks like H2O, but there's more into H2O. So how they are reacting over on the East Coast?
They love it. And that's the fun part with us. Like I said, we did a, last year, naturally, when the world was open, we were able to do so many fun things. Like we did a yacht show. We did the water tasting. We did the Rolls Royce event. They had an unveiling. So we were able to do a water tasting there. The McLaren sports car, we did a water tasting with them. So it's always fun. And like, it's so funny. Like I said, people walk up and I'm like, okay, it's water. And they're like, oh my gosh, this really does taste different. Like, oh man, like, okay, what if I need magnesium? What if I need calcium? And I'm like, you can get that in your water. Like, let's do the tasting so you can see them. And that's like, I love the way that people are just, when their eyes open up and they're just like, oh, yes, I love this. And I'm like, perfect. Because the more people we get talking about it, the bigger, like you said, Nestle can't ignore you for too much longer. They don't have an option anymore if we can get the crowd talking. And I think we're actually, with all of us combined, you know, with you and with Michael and just having the conversations and doing this, just the community that's finally opening up and they're like, okay, I'm getting it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Larry David show. I think I had no idea that you actually, gave him a water tasting afterwards, but that sounds like fun. But I think what that tells me is it's number one about a portfolio. And we've talked about, so you need to have choices. But what is the outcome of choices? The outcome is that you have experiences. And if you're in the food business, Martin will tell you, and the first thing he told me, I'm not selling calories here. I'm selling experiences here. And water can be part of such an experience to a very high degree. And we learned this from the Larry David show. And many, many times I have seen people going away from the table I've served in different water say, wow, my world has changed. And that's really, really nice if you can tell people something that really changes their world, that they haven't thought about it. And now you're the first person to tell them something really, really new. So for me, it's always about the experience with food. This central experience, and that there need to be variation and that it needs to be enjoyed with other people, not just sitting at home alone, but sharing all these kind of aspects that wine has. I think water can have too. And Ashley, you told me at some point that you also had some luck selling some water brands for this experience part into a nightclub into DC. And I thought, this is really cool. Can you tell us about that?
Definitely. So we actually sell to it's a gentleman's club, and we actually we were sitting there and we're like, our name, everything about it. We need that. You need that. Like, they come out with the sparklers and you've got all your alcohol, but I'm like, there's so many different varieties of people and they don't drink alcohol, but they enjoy the nightlife. And that's what's missing. Everybody's like, yeah, we got water. We got Voss. Like, let's be honest, that's what you get at nightclubs. So you go to a nightclub and what's your high-end water? It's going to be Voss. And you're like, okay, so let's change that. Let's change the dynamic, because I'm like, Salvardi's our biggest seller for our gentleman's club. And why? Because it's beautiful. It's amazing when you're bringing it out. Like, I'm like, so we're like, that's what we're going to go with. You want the design, you've got to have the shape and everything that's going to be. So it's been absolutely fantastic for us just to tap into that industry that's so open, wide open, and no one's else thinking about it. Everybody's like, yeah, eating and food. And I'm like, nightlife, because let's have fun. And water's fun.
I love that you just said this, and when you said gentleman's club, I was like, Jesus, it's getting like all over me again here. It's like I'm getting hydrated. I see beautiful people surrounding me, so I'm getting excited now in the morning here. But you captured something very interesting, I think, Ashley, because you said it's about obviously a lifestyle, about excitement, and water can be that. And I think it's still a lot of people thinking, I just can have fun with alcohol. Like when I want to do something special, I need to celebrate it with a bottle of champagne. I love champagne, don't get me wrong. But there are millions of people out there who are saying, you know what, I don't want to drink today. Or I can't drink anymore. Or I should not drink anymore. or whatever reasons they are, why should they be neglected? And I think that is so important, that water can be the substitute as well for something to enjoy, to celebrate. Like, and you mentioned Svalbard, and we had the owner of Svalbard already on the podcast in the first episode. And we talked about this as well. Like, okay, it's not the cheapest water, obviously, because we're selling it for $150 per bottle in the restaurant. So that is something obviously not as a hydration. So this is not a bottle I'm popping open every day, driving my beautiful Porsche and saying like, yeah, look, I'm rich. I can drink Svalbard on the daily basis. That's not what's meant to be. That water is something you're open because maybe you achieved something. Maybe you want to give love to somebody else. Maybe you want to bring something to a very special party as a gift. That is Svalbard. And that is something so unique and interesting. There are other brands created like that, where it's like a high price brand and they want to showcase something very, very unique. Obviously, Svalbard is one of the forefront people, I think, who really captured it very, very, very well. There's another water brand, and I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to give them any like brand recognition. But I saw on Instagram suddenly somebody texted me and said, hey, Martin, what do you think about this water? And this water, and I shared it with Michael. This water does not exist, I think, on the market yet. It has something to do with gold, and there are gold flakes in it or something like that. And it's purified water. Actually, they don't even know what it is, because I reached out to the company, and I obviously on my Instagram account, I like to sometimes be, let's say, in my very unique, lovely way, I like to point about like little issues, what they might be have with their brands. And I said, so kind of interesting. So you want to market as a very important water for rich people, but you not even know what's in there. And your whole claims are completely offsetting because on the one side, you're saying gold is so important for your body, but then we all know like gold is pretty much, it looks shiny, but it doesn't do anything to your body. Obviously, it just goes through and that's it. It doesn't give any taste profiles out. Then they said it's spring water purified. So what does that even mean? What is not purified water? It's spring water. This spring where they're locating it was XXX on their bottle. So it's not even a real spring. Then I reached out to the people who did it. It's a guy from the Netherlands who sits in Miami and doesn't know what to do with this money, I think. And then his followers started to obviously bashing on my social media channel. What's fine. I don't have any issues with that. I think it's hilarious and funny to talk to them as well. But it's quite fascinating that some people thinking they can get away with some BS product. Let's face it. That's all what it is. They're trying to create something very unique and they think it's kind of cool. But what they don't realize actually what they're doing, they're trying to sell you a very cheap made, I don't want to even like say like very cheap made car brand as like a Bentley. That's what they're trying to do, but nothing else. And my job as a water sommelier is to showcase that as well, that there are a lot of people out there who just want to bullshit with, and they just want to make money. Nothing else. They don't want to actually give you an experience. They don't want to create something or give you the mother nature, what should be in the bottle. They're just trying to make money with something what we don't really need. And I think that's important to understand. And I think that's the reason why it's always so hard when you're going to the grocery store these days. It's almost overwhelming because there's so many different water brands these days out of there. And they're all having this incredible sayings on their bottles. This is better for this and it's better for that. But then I think whoever looks at my social media channels sees I did this with Ralph's. I took a picture of a wine aisle of Ralph's stores and then a water aisle at the Ralph's stores. At the wine aisle, okay, they're all connected by red wine, white wine, sparkling wines, then even by regions. When it comes to the water aisle, freestyling. Like there is no more situations in there. It's like Fiji stand right next to Core, what is purified, then right next is Evian, then suddenly Aqua Carpathia right next to them, then maybe there's some sparkling water mixed to it, then they have purified water and gallon suddenly right next to it, what's for your battery and nothing else. It's very strange that not even the retailer understand that there are differences. It's kind of fascinating for me. Actually, do you see that problem as well, that people are completely like, I don't understand this anymore. I have no clue what's actually going on.
Definitely, when people walk up and they're just like, yeah, like I've seen this brand and this brand. I don't know what this means or what does it even do. Or then you walk down an aisle and you're like, I get it. It's so confusing because everyone has, and then here, like, it's so crazy because you got all the stadiums and you're just out on the streets. Like you'll see certain purified brands that set up tents and they're passing out their waters. Just like, oh, it's a hot day, it's perfect. And you'll see our DC tap water, they'll have a huge container set up somewhere, and like just the battle on the streets is really fascinating. So people are just like, I just overstimulation. I don't know what's happening. So it's like now it's like, okay, it's really that importance of getting the education in people. So I'm like, we love that, for us, we're like, we love that y'all push this course. And now when all the water sommeliers come, it's online. I'm like, we love to be able to connect with them and be like, look, you really need some education. Here's where you go. It's like Martin Rees and Michael Masha, what they're doing for just the water industry in itself. It's like that knowledge, it's bottled right there perfectly in a bow. Go get it. And that's what we're loving, to be able to direct people to different places.
So it's fascinating. I understand Martin and I doing this pod and video cast now. I think this is number 6, you're number 6 we talked to. And I understand we already are kind of a number one probably number one podcast in a very small topic, but in the water world, I think this is number one, podcast now. And so I hope that some brands will watch this and will learn about you. And here's my message to the brands. I'm trying to help you, Ashley, because I think your companies are like the bees out there in nature. If your companies disappear, everything on both sides disappears. The water menu in the restaurant disappears, and the brands disappear because there's nothing in between. So you're the bees. So I want to make sure we keep the bees. So I want to tell the brands that they really need to work with the distributor. And working with the distributor does not mean throw it over the fence and ask for money up front. That's not working with the people. You should ask them, how can I help you that you sell my water? And Ashley has lots of ideas, and you have to understand that going into a portfolio distribution company for a brand will not mean to get rich immediately off Ashley's, probably limited cash resources. This money is designed to expand the reach of the portfolio, not to pay the brand. So I think that's really important. Work with the distributor. Ask them, what can I do in order to do that? And, you can engage with Martin, you can engage with media, many, many things they can do. And Ashley has lots of ideas from social media and so forth. But you need to actively do something with her to sell your water in the region. I think that the number 2 to brands is, don't tell Ashley this is the best water in the world and ask her to sell it exclusively, right? Why are you not selling my water alone? Why are you selling other waters in the same restaurant? So you need to be comfortable in a portfolio. And Ashley is very careful with her portfolio. So they're not in competition because they're very different waters, different experiences. We've talked about that. So for a brand, you need to be comfortable working in a portfolio, understand you have a unique position in that portfolio, but you are next to other waters. I think that's important. So that's my appeal to the brands in order to keep the bees happy and keep the bee continue working, so that when I go out there, and I'm totally selfish, I want to go out there, I want to give a water tasting, and when I'm finished and people ask me, that's my goal. When people ask me, where can I get the water? I give them your card and say, call Ashley and she can get you everything you want here in whatever quantities you want. So that's what I want. And I'm pretty sure that's also what you want.
Definitely. And that's the whole idea. We're like, you need to be able to, you want to help. And that's like everyone here wants to help you grow. And you have to understand that it's a collective thing. It's not an individual thing. I love that statement. It's the best water. And I'm like, okay, I drink a lot of water. It's like, that's all we do, hun. Like, you're not gonna get me saying this is the best water. But I understand your passion for it and I love it. Don't get it wrong. But it's a collective. We have to work together. And that's the whole idea.
I love that we're both agreeing, we're all three agreeing on the same matter, because when I'm receiving emails from brand ambassadors for their brands, the first thing is, "Oh, Martin, did you heard about the best water on this planet?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did already." And they're like, "What?" They think, "Yeah, it's in my head." And so there is no best water. And I think it's very important what Michael and what you're just saying as well, Ashley. And please, friends, listen to this. Yes, your water is for sure amazing, but please, there is no best. There's the same like there is no best wine, there is no best car. It's all about preferences. Huh? And what I'm saying to the consumer, because when they ask me, so what is the best water, Martin, to drink? I'm always saying, okay, buy yourself 10 different spring waters, drink them side by side, pick the water what you like the most, and drink a lot of that. Because that is the water for you, what the best is for you. Because that is the water you will hydrate yourself with. Maybe then there's another brand where it's a little bit more expensive, you want a gift. Or you're opening that when you have something special. Or maybe that brand, what you decided is the number one brand for you, maybe it's high mineral brand, maybe. So it maybe doesn't fit when you're drinking red wine. So maybe you want to look then for a water brand who has low minerals, because it will balance out the tannins of the red wine. And then you already start to see like, oh, now I get it. There's a hydration water, what I should drink like on a daily basis. This is like just like to pretty much my bread and butter to survive. And then there's other waters who can enhance my lifestyle. And that is the reason we love the whole portfolio. There is more to discover than just one water. Therefore, there is not just the best water. But it was a pleasure, Ashley. Thank you so much. It's incredible to listen, to see, and to hear your story, and your smiling all the time. On a regular basis, I'm always the guy who smiles all the time, and Michael always laughs at me like, "Jesus, Martin, which water did you had already? Like, why you're in such a good mood?" Today, I feel like I'm the like very sad person right here, and like I'm so serious. And Ashley is the person who took all the drugs already, huh? Because we all learned in this episode that we are all three drug dealers now. Hopefully, I'm not getting arrested by the police at one point, because I'm just drinking water. Anyhow, thanks again to all the listeners. Stay hydrated, stay thirsty. Go to salaciousdrinks.com. Is this the right homepage? Yes, it is. Here we go. But I will put it right down here. They will be here right now. You will see it in the video appearing, salacious.com. Check Ashley out with an incredible portfolio. For sure, she will always change the portfolio as well, and get some new waters in to get everybody excited. Thank you again, Michael, to Texas. And I wish everybody a great, hydrated week. And again, stay thirsty, stay hydrated, and listen to A Water with Martin, Ashley, and Michael today. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers.